Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my parents the peace of mind that my sister will be well cared for when they're gone? I'm 34. 10 years ago, I cut my sister out of my life after she cheated with my then fiancé. It was a 2-year-long affair that only came out when I caught them. She was pregnant and pretended it was the result of a one-night stand. They both knew I would never forgive them if I found out. And according to my ex, they were hoping I would love being an aunt and it would be easier to carry around behind my back if I was busy with a baby. They ended up getting married and having 2 kids. Then 3 years ago, my sister was involved in a car wreck and she suffered life-changing injuries. My parents stepped up to be her full-time caregivers as she will never be able to take care of herself. About a year later, her husband/my ex died, and their kids went to his parents while my parents became my sister's legal guardians. A few months ago, they started dropping hints about wanting me to step up after they're gone. Then a month ago, my parents called and asked me to meet them. They said they're worried what will happen to her when they're gone, or even if they are no longer able to care for her in a few years, and would I take over? Either by putting her in a care facility and making sure she's cared for, or physically taking care of her myself. I said no, that they needed to figure something else out. But I would never do a single thing for her again, and that hadn't changed because she became disabled. They took it okay at first. Then a week ago, when I had it called to change my mind, they said I was the a-hole for not doing it for them. To give them the peace of mind if nothing else. Because even after what she did, she's still their daughter, and she can't advocate for herself. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Your sister burned down that particular bridge. Exactly. Plus, it's not your job to take care of someone who betrayed you. It is the same as it is for abusive parents to become elderly. No one should expect you to come back into their lives simply because they can no longer look after themselves. I think it is pretty horrible for the parents to put this guilt on Opie. Not the a-hole, but boy, talk about karma though. Without the backstory, it would probably be no a-holes here, because you're not required to care for siblings. Though I'd have said that would be the kind thing to do, because we all need help sometimes. / it take a village / whatever. But with backstory, not the a-hole. She cheated and was never sorry. If she hadn't been in the accident, you wouldn't have ever interacted with her again. If your parents are asking you to make sure she's taken care of in a facility, it sounds like there's money available. They should set up a trust, or find a friend of your sister's to have them oversee the situation. You don't need to be dragged in. The sister also has kids and parents-in-law. If the kids are adults when she needs to go to a care home, they may be able to help. If not, or in addition, the in-laws could step in, as it involves the care of their daughter-in-law, so they're invested in the situation. Edit. Unless the grandparents are too old / have passed away, but then the kids may be adults who can help their mom in some way. Not the a-hole. They need to make arrangements now while they're able. Exactly. They can find an appropriate care home right now and get on the waiting list, because it's not something you can do quickly. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for kicking my brother out of my house for eating my wife's birthday cake? My male 28 brother Steve, male 23, moved in with me after he got kicked out of his college dorm for repeated violations. He's been staying with me, my wife, and our 6-month-old son for a couple of months now. My wife's birthday was days ago. I wanted to plan something special for her because this year has been very stressful for her. From studying to become a new mom, she barely found time for herself. I helped with all I could, but because this is her birthday, I decided to not let her burden herself with doing any work. On her birthday, I made reservation for a spa session she has been needing for so long, and I started getting everything done. The cake arrived from the bakery at 11 a.m., and I asked Steve and his buddy Jason to help with the decoration. I gave few tasks to get done while I went to take care of my son and get him to sleep. About half an hour later, I came downstairs and walked into the kitchen and saw that both Steve and Jason were having large pieces of my wife's birthday cake in separate plates. I asked what the heck was going on, and Steve told me to chill. I got mad seeing the cake split in half and 2 large pieces of it were gone. I flipped out and told him this wasn't for him to take. He said he and his buddy got hungry from helping me out and really wanted to try some of the cake because it looked delicious. I yelled at him about how awful and disrespectful what he did was. And he said I was overreacting since he left enough for me, my wife, and the guests. But it's not about that. He ruined the cake that I spent a week ordering from the bakery. I told him my wife wouldn't even like how it looked and won't even get the chance to blow the candles. He said, "I'm sorry, alright? But you're just being a little too dramatic about a piece of cake." Then Jason said, "Yeah, man. Besides, who cares about some stupid candle blow? Totally unhygienic. Is your wife like 5? I lost it. I kicked Jason out and told Steve to pack and leave my house. He said he couldn't believe I'd seriously tell him to get out over something so small. I told him this was my wife's birthday cake. I said he could talk to her and explain, but I had none of it. I had him pack and leave. My father called and got all pissed, telling me I was out of my mind to kick my brother out with nowhere to go over a birthday cake. I live in the city where Steve's college is, but my family live far away. He and Mom told me to go pick Steve up where he's staying, but I said no. My actions were called disgraceful and immature for reacting this way over a cake. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. And we all see why Steve was kicked out of his dorm for repeated violations. He probably treated his dorm mates with the same respect he treated you and your wife. Based on Mom and Dad's response, it seems pretty obvious why the brother is the way he is. Rotten from the core, with zero empathy, and too dumb to realize the world does not rotate around him. Not today, OP. Though I would not have allowed him to move in the first place after getting kicked out of the university housing. Exposing my 6-month-old to that level of instability wouldn't have been a no-go. Seriously, I don't even have kids, and I'd be hesitant to take in someone who got kicked out of their dorm under those circumstances, because I'd be worried they wouldn't follow whatever house rules we might decide to set. I definitely wouldn't take them in if I had an infant or small child in the house. I get that some universities are super strict with their housing rules, and if someone had been kicked out just for smoking grass one time, that's a situation I might be able to sympathize with. But here, it was multiple violations, and I hope it doesn't specify what they were. But I'm willing to bet that if I saw that person's track record, I wouldn't feel comfortable having them live with me. Not a home. I'm sorry, but in what world do you dig into someone's birthday cake before their actual birthday celebration? If Steve doesn't have somewhere to live, it's his own fault for making, what sounds like, a long series of bad decisions. Everyone knows you don't cut a birthday cake before the party. If this was the only food in the house and they were starving, that still would have made them a-holes. But to just blow it off like, meh, there's enough left for the birthday person, is just mind-boggling levels of failness. Good for you for kicking those two out. And thank you for taking such good care of your wife for her birthday. I'm sure at least the spa day turned out well. And hopefully she'll learn to laugh at this cake story. Not a home. My actions were called disgraceful and immature. And what were your brother's actions called? It's very apparent he has boundary/behavior issues. Otherwise, he'd still be living in campus. He's supposed to be learning adult skills. Seems he's failing miserably. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to make a second meal during a family dinner? My husband and I hosted his family for dinner last weekend, and a situation arose where I am now being called out. I don't want to see what you all think. My husband's parents, brother, sister-in-law, and 3 nephews came to eat at our house. About an hour before dinner was served, my brother-in-law pulled me aside and said their youngest was being a picky eater and wouldn't eat the lasagna or salad I had made. So he asked me to make this specific dish for him. Not only was this not a quick dish, but it would take at least 3 hours to prepare. I said no, that I could throw on some fries for him, but no extra meal just for him. He told me he wanted his son to eat more than just fries, and that as the host, I should go the extra mile to make sure everyone has something. The dish? Chicken tenders and fries. Just fancied up and had a homemade ketchup accompaniment. The last time we saw the kid for dinner, he was eating spicy noodles and veggies. But now, all he eats is McDonald's or these homemade fries and tenders. I don't remember what side the recipe was for, but the tenders required an awful lot of prep and ingredients. We had most of it, but that was beside the point in my eyes. The whole dinner was tense because my husband's brother was pissed at me. The youngest didn't eat a single thing and demanded McDonald's because he was hungry and turned his nose up at fries. Then my husband and his brother ended up fighting because he disrespected me, and my husband wasn't having any of it. My husband's parents complained that I made things awkward. This was after dinner. I think it's ridiculous, but are they right? Am I the a-hole here? Now for the top comments. Not today haul. If parents have a child with a picky appetite and a rude attitude towards eating what's provided, it's the parent's responsibility to show up with food that their child will eat. Your brother-in-law knew his child would not eat anything provided. It was his job to take care of the matter, not yours. This kid is doing a great job of training his parents to jump when it says jump, but that doesn't mean that you have to join the same obedience school. My brother-in-law definitely blew me away with a request. The thing is, there was no warning ahead or anything. Because I don't mind if he didn't want lasagna. But to expect me to make a second meal an hour before dinner being served is so damn rude to me. It is rude. And what's worse is that he then doubled down on making you and everyone else uncomfortable before having a full-scale fight with your husband. Your brother-in-law owes you an apology. Not that I think you'll get one. I don't think you should enable them or help spoil the kid by making special accommodations. As parents, we should be teaching our children to be mindful and respectful. I remember some etiquette classes I had, and the polite way is always to show appreciation to your host. I just can't conceive parents who would demand a special meal be cooked for their kid at somebody else's house. This rude behavior is so out of line, and so many levels. Not today, home. What an entitled bunch. I would not invite them again. Imagine people come for free food, and the guests are entitled enough to be mad for not making 10 different types of food. I mean, at least let Opie know early. Not today, home. They could have brought the meal for him and heated it up. They just want to be a-holes and make you serve them. Now for the last story. Would I be the a-hole if I asked my grieving sister to leave the house she used to live in with her late husband? I'm female 30, currently pregnant. I have a sister, Emma, 48, who lost her husband to the big sea last year. Emma was and still is completely devastated by her husband's death. And when he passed in May, she immediately wanted to get rid of their house. As soon as she told me she wanted to sell, I jumped on the chance. Her house has literally been my dream house since I was a child, and Emma was very happy for it to stay in the family. She wanted to sell it to me for ridiculously cheap, but I insisted on paying only very little below market price. She was grateful. We set up the contract. The sale was officially closed in July. Very quick sale. Emma moved about 5 hours away into a flat in a fairly big city and seemed very happy there for the last year. Then her new therapist made her understand that she's never really given herself time to grieve properly. And so recently she asked me if she could move back into the house to find a way to say goodbye. I admittedly was hesitant. I'm due with my first child in October. I'm a single mom. I'm in the process of renovating some space for my daughter. However, I agreed and Emma has been living with me for about 4 weeks now. Things are not going great. She cries all day, every day, which she says is normal as per her therapist, but makes me really worry. She still acts as if the house is hers, rearranging my things, using things without asking. She keeps locking my cat in rooms because she doesn't like him. I overheard her on the phone with a friend saying she was excited for my daughter to arrive, because it'll mean she'll have the house to herself for a few weeks. When I confronted her, she said, "Aren't you moving in with mom for a few weeks so she can help?" I told her no. In fact, my mother-in-law would be staying with me. Ax doesn't want to be involved, but his mom does, however. And she's the sweetest, because mom is over 70 and physically can't do it anymore. Emma has been really weird since then, acting as if I wronged her somehow. When I asked her how long she'd be staying, she had no answer. I'm thinking of asking her to move out soon, so I can prepare for my child, but my parents have warned me against it, because Emma's still so fragile. And even my friend said that it really didn't feel right to throw out a grieving person who so obviously needs help. So would I be the a-hole? Edit. People are overwhelmingly implying my sister is being malicious, and I want to make it very clear that she isn't. My sister is not a horrible, mean-spirited person who just wants her home back. That's not it at all. And I would ask you to please stop inferring that. She is a deeply hurt, devastated person who just wants to find a way to reconnect with her late husband after she sold everything relating to him that she had out of grief and pain. If she was anything like some people in the comments suggest, I would not feel so heartbroken thinking I might have to kick her out. Info. Have you asked your sister to do a group session with her therapist? I'm guessing that therapist is not fully informed of this situation. Her therapist is a lovely lady. I've met her once before, actually. She did not suggest my sister move in with me. She suggested my sister moved on too fast. Emma literally sold absolutely everything relating to my brother-in-law because she couldn't handle the pain. She got rid of everything in a matter of weeks, and then moved far away so she wouldn't even have to see the places they've been at together anymore. My house is literally the only thing she's left that directly connects her to her husband in a significant way. Okay, you definitely need to do a joint session. Therapist will almost certainly light a fire under your sister's butt, which needs to be done. But it's best if it's not you doing the pushing. Not today, home. Question. Do you think the therapist really suggested she move back home? Or was this possibly a way for her to get back into her comfort zone? You're about to bring a child home, and that child is your priority. Tell your sister there are going to be some non-negotiable house rules. And if she's unable to adhere to them, then she should likely start to find another place. You paid for the home and welcomed her to grieve. This is not her new normal situation. You didn't sign up for that. Good luck with your baby. From what she told me, and I believe her therapist made her realize she pushed everything related to her husband away immediately because she couldn't handle the pain. She sold the house, got rid of almost all of their joint possessions, his clothing, books, art they collected, etc. She got rid of everything in a matter of weeks, and then moved far away so she wouldn't even have to see the places they've been at together anymore. So yeah, I can see where the therapist is coming from. My house is literally the only thing she has left that directly connects her to her husband in a significant way. Not today, home. We set up the contracts. The sale was officially closed in July. Your sister acting as if that house still belongs to her is not justifiable. I don't care how much she's grieving, or if it still holds sentimental value. She signed a contract. You should contact a lawyer and inform yourself about what could be done because she's not going to leave your house willingly. That's going too far. I'm not evicting my own grieving sister. I already feel bad just about talking to her about leaving. My family would also never let me live that down. Just because it is legally my house doesn't mean I don't want to help her get better.